Welcome to Design of Machine Element 2. This is Sudhir from Department of Mechanical Engineering, AJIT, Mangaluru. Coming to the module 4, so we already finished one of the important part, that is design of worm gear. So coming to the next part in that module, that is design of clutches and design of brakes. So today we'll start with the one of the important and easy topic from the exam point of view. So that is design of clutch. In that we need to study design consideration of different types of clutch. Mainly we need to study about one of the uh, plate clutch, that is single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. So this we have to study along with the problems based on single and multi plate clutch. Before that we need to study different types of clutches and its various application. So this is the one of the main part of module 4, that is design of clutches. And coming to the last part in that, that is one more design of mechanical element, that is brakes. So we need to study about different types of brakes commonly used in mechanical engineering applications. And in that two are very important. One is block and band brakes. So we have to study what are the design consideration of these two brakes. One is block and band brakes, and we have to study about self-locking of brakes along with the heat generation in brakes. So these are the remaining content of module 4. Today we'll start with the design of clutches. So we'll start directly design of clutches. The clutch is mostly found in automobiles. So clutch is nothing but machine member, one of the machine member which is used to connect a driving shaft to a driven shaft, so that driven shaft may be started or stopped at the will of at the wheel, so without stopping the driving shaft. So that is the main uh, key function of clutches. That is it's one of the mechanical device or machine member, so that can connect, that can be used to connect a driving shaft to driven shaft, so that driven shaft may be started or stopped at will without stopping the driving shaft. It means that, so which is used to connect or disconnect the source of power from the remaining parts of the power transmission system at the will of the operator. So that is the one of the important features of clutches. So unlike coupling, so coupling means it's like a permanent connection between the driver driving shaft and driven shaft. An automotive clutch can permit the engine to run without driving the car. So this is a desirable when the engine is to be started or stopped, or when the gears are to be shifted. So that is the features of clutches. It is used necessary when driven shaft should be disengaged from the driving shaft. So the whatever the engagement and disengagement of the shaft is obtained by means of a clutch, so which is operated by a lever. So that is about basic introduction about clutches. Now we'll move forward, and we have to see what are the different types of clutches and along with its application. So there are four important types of clutches. The one is positive contact clutches, or we call it as positive clutches, and another one is friction clutch, and the third one is electromagnetic clutch, and the fourth one is fluid clutches and coupling. So we'll see one by one. So positive contact clutch is nothing but positive contact clutch is nothing but it has a jaw, so that is used to connect the driving and driven shaft. It may be in the form of square jaw clutch or spiral jaw clutch, and there will be some two-tooth clutch also. So here the whatever the power transmission that is achieved by interlocking of jaws or teeth. The main advantage of this type of clutch is positive engagement, and once coupled they can transmit large torque without slip. So that is the main function of positive clutch. In positive clutch there will be always jaw, so that will connect each other. Now coming to the second important type of clutch, that is friction clutches. So as the name implies, so this will work on the principle of friction. There will be a different types of clutches based on this principle. Mainly we have single plate clutch or multi-plate clutch. Similarly we have cone clutch and centrifugal clutch. So here what will happen, the power transmission is always by means of friction between the contacting surface. So whatever the entire syllabus that we have to study, only friction clutch, in that we need to study about single and multi-plate clutch along with the contacting surfaces. We have to know about which are the different materials used for contacting surface. So this type of clutches always works on principle of friction. Now coming to the third type of clutch, that is electromagnetic clutch. So they include a magnetic particle clutches, so magnetic hysteresis or eddy current clutch. So there are also different types of clutches. Mainly we have magnetic hysteresis clutch and eddy current clutches. So here how the power transmission takes place. The power transmission will takes place by means of strong magnetic field. So these clutches have many advantage because rapid response time and whatever the controls, that will be easy, and starting and stopping also uh, very smooth. So that is the main function of electromagnetic clutches. And coming to the last type of clutch, that is fluid clutches and couplings. Here whatever the power transmission, so that will takes place by hydraulic pressure. So a fluid coupling provides extremely smooth starts, and so that will always absorb shocks. So that is the characteristics of fluid clutches. So these are the four important clutches, and we need to study only one type of clutches, that is friction clutch. In that we need to study about again two types of clutch. One is single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. Now coming to the friction clutch, and you know the whatever the these type of clutches that will works on the principle of friction, so between the contacting surface, or we call it as friction surfaces. For that reason we have to provide a proper material, and it should possess some of the important characteristics. The material used for lining of friction surface of a clutch should have following characteristics. So first characteristics, that is it should have a high and uniform coefficient of friction, because one of the important principle behind this type of clutch is friction. So that's why it should have high coefficient of friction. Second one, it should not be affected by moisture and oil. So whatever the material, it should not affected by moisture or any environmental conditions. So that is coming to the third point, again same. So it should have the ability to withstand high temperature caused by slippage, because there will be a slippage because of that lot of heat is generated in the so in order to withstand, we have to provide proper material as a lining of friction surface. Now coming to the fourth one, it should have high heat conductivity because it has to conduct heat from one place to another place frequently. And last one, it should have high resistance to wear and scoring. So these are the failure mechanism. So it should have high resistance, it should not fail in such uh, condition. So that is the important characteristics of material that can be used for lining of friction surfaces of a single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. Now coming to the next point, that is next topic, a design consideration of a friction clutch. So we have to consider following a design criteria or design considerations must be kept in mind while designing a friction clutch. The friction clutch may be disc or plate clutch or cone clutch or centrifugal clutch, because in your syllabus you have only a disc or plate clutches. Similarly, we have a cone clutch and a centrifugal clutch with respect to friction clutch, but that we are not going to study. We are going to study only disc or plate clutches, in that single plate or multi plate clutch. The following consideration we have to follow while designing a friction clutch. The first one, the suitable material forming the contact surface should be selected. So we already discussed about what are the characteristics of that material. So we have to select appropriate material for contact surface. That is the first consideration. You should follow all the properties what we discussed earlier. Now coming to the second one, the moving part of clutch should have low weight in order to minimize the inertia load, especially in high speed service. So this is the second point or second design consideration. Now coming to the third one, the clutch should not require any external force to maintain contact of friction surface. It doesn't require any external force. Then fourth one, the provision for taking up wear of the contact surface must be provided. Fifth one, the clutch should have provision for facilitating repairs. Sixth one, the clutch should have provision for carrying away the heat generated at the contact surface, because lot of heat is generated, so that we have to carry. So for that we have to uh, provide certain provision. So that is also one of the important design consideration. Next coming to the last design consideration, the projected part of the clutch should be covered by guard. So guard should be uh, used in order to cover the projecting parts of the clutches. So these are the some of the design consideration of friction clutches. Now we have to study about disc clutch or plate clutches, in that two types. One is single disc or multi disc clutch, or we call it as single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. So these are two important topics are there in your syllabus, and it plays very important role, because whatever the problems also, so that will be based on these two type. So we have to derive expression for torque transmitting capacity, so that will also discuss. So before that we'll see what are the construction of single plate clutches. Coming to the single plate clutch, you can see here, so there will be a driving shaft, and here there will be a driven shaft. So there will be a connection between the driving and driven shaft, by means of contacting surface. So based on number of contacting surface, we have a single plate uh, clutch and multi-plate clutch, as we discussed earlier. So depending upon the number of friction surface, the friction clutches are classified as single plate clutch and multi-plate clutches. So now we'll see how single plate clutch will work. If you know the principle of single plate clutch, so that will be same for multi-plate clutch, only the change in contacting friction surfaces. So you can see here driving shaft and driven shaft. So there will be a one flange is rigidly keyed. So you can see here one flange that is rigidly keyed to the driving shaft, and another flange that is rigidly connected to the driven shaft. So that by means of splines. So you know what I mean by spline. It's like a projected area. So the spline permits only if the free axial movement of the driven flange with respect to the driving shaft. So this axial movement is essential for engagement and disengagement of clutches. So that is the main principle behind friction clutch, that is engagement and disengagement of clutch. So the whatever the actuating force required, so that will be provided by helical compression spring. You can see here. So sometime we have to design this helical spring also. You know how to design spring. So the actuating force that is provided by helical compression spring, so which always forces us the driven flange to move towards the driving flange. So this spring always forces the driving flange to move towards driving flange by means of uh, by means of that is actuating force. So that is about function of actuating spring or helical compression spring. So now what will happen? The power is transmitted from the driving shaft to driving shaft to driving flange. The first initially the power is transmitted from driving shaft to driving flange by means of key. So key, you know different types of key. Now whatever the power is then transmitted from driving flange to driven flange by means of these contacting forces, that is the uh, force arising between the friction line. So now finally the whatever the power that is transmitted from driven flange to driven shaft by means of again splines. So there will be splines, so that will provide only axial moment. So thus power is transmitted finally by means of uh, whatever the power, so that will transmit from driving shaft to driven shaft, and the main role here, that is friction force between the driving and driven flange. So that is called clutch. It's nothing but whatever the uh, frictional force between the driving and driven flange is nothing but clutch. So that's why it is called friction clutch, because frictional force is induced between the driving and driven flanges. So that's why we call it as this type of clutch is called as friction clutch. So in order to disengage the clutch, we have to insert one fork. So that we have to insert on the collar of the driven flange. So it will shift actually to the right side. So the main function of this fork is to uh, release the pressure between the driving and driven flange. So if you want to release this pressure, what will happen? So there is no torque can transmit from the driving shaft to driven shaft. So this is about working of single plate clutches. Why we called it this as a single plate clutch? Because it has only one contacting surface, so that's why it's called single plate clutch or single disc clutch. Next important topic is we have to derive one of the important derivation in this chapter, that is torque transmitting capacity of single plate clutch. Here we can see this is nothing but friction disc of a single plate clutch. It's nothing but friction disc of a single plate clutch. So we have to derive whatever the torque capacity of the clutch. So for that reason we have to use two different theory. One is called uniform pressure theory, another one we call it as uniform wear theory. So we'll see what are the difference between these two theories. So this is about friction clutch, where di is nothing but inner diameter, and do suffix o is nothing but outer diameter. So let do is nothing but outer diameter of friction disc in millimeter, and di is nothing but inner diameter of friction disc in millimeter, and p is nothing but intensity of the pressure at any radius r, so it should be in Newton per millimeter square, and F is nothing but total operating force, it should be in Newton, and capital letter T is nothing but torque transmitted by the clutch. So that we have to find out now what is the expression for torque transmitted by the clutch. So for that reason, the intensity of the pressure P at a radius R may be constant or may be variable. So you have seen already. So here whatever the pressure, intensity of the pressure, so that will be constant. So in case of uniform pressure shift, so that may be variable based on the theory we have used in the derivation. Now you have to consider an small elemental ring of radius r having thickness dr, so that's shown in figure. So you can see here, this is the small ring we have to consider for the derivation purpose. Elemental ring at a radius r and having thickness dr, so that is whatever the friction force on elemental ring, so that you can see here. So this is nothing but friction disc, so we have to consider small elemental ring at a radius r having thickness dr. The elemental area of that ring is denoted by dA, which is given by 2 pi r into dr. So elemental axial force dF is given as pressure into area. So pressure into area is nothing but force, because pressure is nothing but force per unit area. So P into dA, dA is nothing but 2 pi r dr. So if I will write like this, 2 pi into P into r into dr, and I will consider this as equation number 1. So now how to find out elemental friction force? Elemental friction force is always mu into dF. You know, mu is nothing but coefficient of friction, and dF is nothing but elemental axial force. Again you have to multiply with mu, so that is mu into P into 2 into 2 pi r dr. Again I will write like this, mu into P into 2 into pi r dr. Now elemental frictional torque. So elemental friction torque is nothing but uh, elemental friction force into radius of the elemental ring. Always torque equal to force into radius. So mu into df into r. Again you have to multiply by r. So now expression will be mu into p into 2 pi r dr into r. So we'll get equation number 2 as 2 pi mu p into r square dr. So two theories are used to obtain the torque capacity of the clutch. So based on condition of the clutch, either it may be new or it may be uh, worn out or old clutches. So in case of new clutches employing a number of spring, the pressure remains constant over the entire surface area of the friction disc. So with the help of this assumption we have to use uniform pressure theory. Similarly, based on wear conditions, so we have to use wear theory. So uniform pressure theory that can be used for new clutches, and uniform wear theory so that can be used for old clutches. So that is the one of the major difference between these two theories. So if you use uniform pressure theory, uh, here what is the main condition? The pressure remain constant. You can see here the pressure is constant, and whatever the actuating or whatever the operating force, that is axial force, that you have to, that also you have to find out. So there will be two important theory. One is uniform pressure theory and uniform weight theory. So in case of uniform pressure theory, employing a number of spring, the pressure remain constant over the entire surface area of the friction disc. With this assumption, P is assumed to be constant. This constant distribution is shown in figure here A. Now from equation 3, so you have to find out, you have to integrate in order to find out the, that is axial force F. So that is 2 pi into integrating, we have to with respect to inner radius to outer radius, that is di by 2 and do by 2 p r into dr. So that will be the equation number 3. Similarly, integrating the expression 1, you will get f equal to 2 into pi di by 2 to the limit du by 2 is nothing but ri and ro radius p into r into dr. So that I will consider as equation number 3. Now integrating the expression 2, so you will get torque, that is again 2 pi mu. These are the constant you have to take outside, and you have to integrate from limits ri to ro is nothing but di by 2 du by 2 p r square into dr. So that will be, I will consider as equation number 4. So equation number 3 you will get from integrating 3, and equation 4 you will get from integrating the expression 2. Now I will use axial force suffix f, sorry, suffix p, because p indicates uniform pressure theory. The axial force with respect to uniform pressure theory, so that I will after integrating I will get 2 pi p di by 2 du by 2 r into dr. So after integrating this expression and substituting the whatever the limits, you will get a final expression as FAP is equal to 1 by 4 pi into p do square minus di square. So that is I will consider as expression number 5. So This you can find this expression in equation number 13.9a. This is your data and book expression that can be used for single plate clutch in order to find out axial force by considering uniform pressure theory. Now again you have to integrate equation number 4, so that you will get torque transmitted by the clutch, single plate clutch you will get, that is T equal to 2 pi mu. You have to integrate di by 2 to do by 2 pr square dr. So that is nothing but your earlier expression 4. So again after integrating, after simplifying this step, that is 2 pi whatever the constant, because pressure is constant, because we assume uniform pressure theory for new clutches, that's why P is constant. You have to take outside, and you have to integrate the variable is R, here R square dr. So integration of R square is R cube by 3. Now we have to apply limits, and finally you will get expression 6, that is T equal to pi into mu P divided by 12 into dO cube minus di cube. Now you have to dividing equation 6 by 5, because you have to replace this P by F. So therefore you will get expression as T equal to 1 by 2 FA, this is not FT, FA into dm. So dm is nothing but mean diameter. So this is inner diameter, and dO is nothing but outer diameter. dm means outer diameter, and that can be uh, rewrite for considering by considering uniform pressure theory as by giving suffix p. So that's why 1 by 2 mu FAP into DMP. So MP is nothing but mean diameter using uniform pressure theory. So you can find this expression in your data and book 13.9b. So this is nothing but torque transmitting capacity of the single plate clutch. Make a note here, the mean diameter can be calculated using uniform pressure theory with this expression 13.9c, that is 2 by 3 into dO cube minus di cube divided by dO square minus di square. So this is one of the important equation to calculate mean diameter of the clutch friction disc using uniform pressure theory. If wear theory means you have another expression, so that also we'll discuss later. And whatever the expression, so this expression 13.9, so this is one of the important expression, so that will give you torque transmitting capacity for a single pair of contacting surface, because this expression will give you only for one pair of contacting surfaces. So now we'll see what do you mean by different, if the contacting surface increases, so how the expression will be. You can see here the above equation have been derived for a single pair of contacting surfaces when there are number of friction surface in contact, as in case of multi-disc clutch. So equation 13.9b should be multiplied by number of pairs of contacting surface to obtain the resultant torque transmitting capacity. So if you in case of multi-plate clutches, so there will be a more number of contacting pairs. The pair of contacting surface will be more. Now the same expression can be used by modifying that. You have to multiply with how many number of contacting surfaces are there. So for that reason you have to multiply by the above expression, that is what we derived. You have to multiply by one constant, that is n dash. N dash is nothing but number of pairs of contacting surfaces. So that is very important equation to solve problem on multi-plate clutches. So we'll discuss what you mean by multi-plate clutch later. So torque equal to half into mu. Mu is nothing but coefficient of friction into n dash. N dash is nothing but number of pairs of contacting surfaces, and FAP is nothing but axial force, and dm is nothing but mean diameter of friction disk. So this expression will get from equation number 13.9c in your data handbook. Now coming to the one more theory, that is uniform wear theory. So according to this the second theory, it is assumed that wear is uniformly distributed over the entire surface area of the friction disk. Here whatever the wear is uniformly distributed over the entire surface area of the friction disk. This assumption is used for worn out clutches. So all of you make note, very important thing. If they have not mentioned which theory you have to use, always you have to go for uniform wear theory, because uniform pressure theory, so that is applicable only when the friction lining is new. When the lining is put into service, what will happen? So there will be a wear. So therefore major portion of the life of the friction lining, that comes under uniform wear condition. So therefore it's more logical to use uniform wear theory in the design of clutches if they are not mentioned properly. So this is one of the important thing. So this assumption is used for worn-out clutches. The actual wear of the friction disc is proportional to the frictional work. The work done by the friction force at a radius r proportional to the friction force, that is mu into p, and rubbing velocity is nothing but 2 into pi into r into n. So where n is nothing but speed in revolution per minute. So where is directly proportional to mu into p. So mu into p uh, into 2 pi r n is nothing but the rubbing velocity. So where is directly proportional to mu into p, and mu into p is nothing but frictional force, and 2 pi rn is nothing but rubbing velocity. So assuming n and coefficient of friction mu as constant for the given configuration, so n and mu is constant, so you can bring outside, and here p and r is variable, so that is nothing but uniform wear condition. So therefore wear is directly proportional to PR, and PR is equal to constant. The pressure distribution according to uniform wear theory, so is illustrated in figure B. So whatever the pressure is maximum at inner radius and minimum at outer radius, so that is given in your notes, whatever the diagram. So you can just check earlier what we studied in uniform pressure theory. The pressure remain constant, but here pressure is not constant, because it varies with respect to radius. Therefore pressure is maximum at inner radius and minimum at outer periphery, means outer radius. So the maximum pressure intensity at the inner diameter is denoted as P max, because maximum pressure is always at inner radius of the friction disk. Therefore it is denoted by P max. And also permissible intensity pressure, since PR equal to P max into di, because R is nothing but di by 2, because the maximum pressure will induced at inner radius. Therefore R we consider as di by 2, and P we can change it to P max. Now whatever the derivations, so that will be same what we done already for uniform pressure theory. From equation 3, again the same equation we have to use here also. F equal to 2 pi into the limit Ri to Ro, that is into P into R into dr. So F equal to, here one of the important thing is P into R is constant, so this we have to bring outside. Therefore 2 into pi into P max into di by 2. So here I think mistake is there, so only dr. Pr is constant, we have to neglect this one because we already taken outside. Here 1 into dr. So now after integrating, so what will happen? So FAW is equal to 1 by 2 into pi into P max into di into do minus di. So this expression is for axial force by using uniform weight theory. So you can find this expression in your data book from 13.9d. Now from equation 4, again we have to find out torque transmitting capacity of the clutch. So again you have to use equation number 4, 2 pi mu into di by 2 do by 2 pr square into dr. So here you know pr is constant, we have to bring outside. So pr is nothing but p max into di, because maximum pressure at inner radius, therefore p max into di by 2. So one PR is constant according to uniform wear theory, so you have to bring outside. Constant always you have to bring outside. So then only R is remaining. R is the variable, so you have to do integrate for you have to integrate R into dr. After integrating, so you'll get this equation 1 by 2 mu into FAW into DMW. So it's nothing but pi by 8 mu into P max, because FAW you have to replace into P max. So you have to write expression in terms of pressure. So therefore you'll get pi by 8 mu into P max into di into do square minus di square. So that is expression number 13.9 F in your data book. Then how to find out dm? Dm is nothing but mean diameter of the friction disc. So if you use uniform wear theory, the mean diameter can be calculated as di plus do divided by 2. So that is from equation number 13.9 F. So the above equation gives the torque transmitting capacity for a single pair of contacting surfaces. Now if there are n pair of contacting surface in case of multiplied clutch, then we have to multiply by n dash. How many number of pairs of contacting surface are there, that you have to multiply. So therefore T expression, so you'll get that is torque transmitting capacity is equal to pi by 8 mu into n dash. You have to multiply n dash P max into di into do square minus di square. So that is expression number 13.9 F in your data handbook. Now coming to the multi-plate clutches, so there will be a small difference between the single plate and multi-plate clutch. As the name implies, multi, here more number of contacting, a pair of contacting surface will be there. You can see here, so there will be a 4 pair of contacting surface. So this is the entire clutch setup, what we discussed earlier. There will be a spline sleeve, so that will move axial direction for engagement and disengagement of flanges, two flanges. So there will be some of the clutches that will be engaged to driven shaft, and some of the set of disc that will be engaged to driven flange. So you can see here, so there will be a 3 set of disc we consider as set A, and here you can see that is 2 set 2, total 5 disc are there. 3 here, set A carries 3 disc, and set B, because here some mistake is there, set B consists of 2 disc, total 5 disc So 5 disk means 1 less, because 5 minus 1, so that will give you pair of contacting surface. So therefore 4 pair of contacting surface. So multiplate disk always consist of many number of disks. You can see here in this construction we have disk of set A and disk of set B. We have two sets of disks. The one is A and one is B. The set A is always usually made up of hardened steel, and while set B is usually made up of bronze material. So set A is made up of steel and set B is made up of bronze. So set A is always connected to the driven shaft by means of splines. Set A is always connected to the driven shaft by means of splines. Similarly, what is the function of splines? So this will move freely in an axial direction on the spline sleeve. You know already working of single plate clutch. So there are 4 through bolts which passes through the holes in the disc of set B. So there will be a clearance fit between the bolt and holes in the plates that allows disc of set B to move in axial direction. The bolts are rigidly fixed to a rotating drum, so which is keyed to the driving shaft. So the axial force which is required to the driving shaft, whatever the axial force which is required to hold the disc together, so that will provide by means of springs. So whatever the working principle behind multiplate clutch remains same. The only difference is number of pair of contacting surface. The disc B is connected to driving shaft. So always the power is transmitted from a disc of set B to those of A by means of friction. When the disc of set A rotate, so they transmit power to the driven shaft through spline sleeves. This is the working of multiplate disc. So there will be two set, one set A and set B. So that may be carries any number of disc. So whatever the disc A connected to the disc A, they usually made up of hardened steel, so that usually connected to the driven shaft, and disc B, that is made up of bronze material, so that is connected usually connected to the driving shaft. So that is the one of the important note, because some of the problem they will not mention which disk is driving and which disk is driven. So if whatever the disk made up of steel means it is connected to the driven shaft. If disk is made up of bronze means that is set B, usually connected to driving shaft. So that is one of the important note. Now coming to the some of the important characteristics of multiplate disc. The number of disc should be equal to number of contacting surface plus 1, because number of contacting pair of contacting surface is always equal to number of disc minus 1, because you have seen there are 5 disc, because 3 disc that is at set A and 2 disc at set B. So total 5 disc, but 5 disc means always one less. One less means you will get number of pairs of contacting surface, that is 4. If 5 means the number of contacting surfaces are 4. So that is I'll give you equation number A. Suppose N1 is the number of discs on driving shaft. Number of driving shaft means it is made up of bronze material, and N2 is number of disc on driven shaft is nothing but set A, and this is nothing but set B. So number of disc on driven shaft is nothing but steel shaft. Now substituting N1 plus N2, so that will give you number of pairs of contacting surface plus 1. So this is N1 plus N2 is nothing but number of discs, total number of discs. We have to add N1 plus N2. So in case of last example, there will be a N1 as number of discs on driving shaft. How many driving shaft discs are there? So there will be a, so N1 value as 3 in earlier case, and N2 value is 2. So total N1 plus N2 is 5. Number of discs are 5, but the number of pairs is 4. That is number of pairs of contacting surface plus 1. So that will give you number of discs. So number of pairs of contacting surface is always N1 plus N2 minus 1. So it should be noted that two outer discs have contacting surface on one side only. So 2 minus 1 give you one contacting surface. Now you can come to know about some of the difference between the single plate and multi plate clutches. So one of the important difference is based on number of pairs of contacting surface. In single plate clutch it is always 1 or at most 2, but in case of multi disc clutch or multi-plate clutch, the number of contacting surface is always more than 2 or more than 1. So then we call it as multi-plate clutch. And coming to the one more characteristics, as the number of contacting surface is increased, whatever the torque transmitting capacity is also increased, because we already derived if n dash, if it is increased, the torque transmitting capacity also increase. So in other words, for a given torque capacity, the size of multi plate clutch is always smaller than that of single plate clutch, so resulting in the compact construction. Whatever the construction of multi plate clutch, so that will be compact. So that is with respect to construction. Now coming to the one more difference, that is the work done by the friction force during the engagement is converted into heat. So more heat is generated in case of multi-plate clutch due to increased number of contacting surface. So that is one of the important factor with respect to thermal consideration, because if the number of whatever the contacting surface, if it is more, means there will be friction. Due to friction, so a lot of heat is generated. So heat dissipation is a serious problem in case of multi-plate clutch, because whatever the heat, so that should carry heavy. It means that we have to provide either proper lubrication, or we have to whatever the heat should dissipate more. So that will be one of the major problem in case of multi-plate clutch. So therefore multi-plate clutches are we call it as wet clutches, while single plate clutches we call it as dry clutches. Now coming to the one more thing, the coefficient of friction decreases due to the cooling oil, so thereby reducing the torque transmitting capacity of the multi-plate clutch. The coefficient of frictions is high in dry single plate clutches. So coefficient of friction that will decreases due to the cooling oil, so thereby reducing the torque transmitting capacity. So that also one of the important difference between single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. The single plate clutches, what are the applications? So they are used in cars, trucks, whatever it may be. Similarly, the multi plate clutches so that are used in motorcycles, some of the desirable construction. Due to desirable constructions, we have a lot of application of these two clutches. These are the some of the differences between single plate and clutch. So now all the important theory of clutches. We studied about a definition of clutches, then different types of clutches, and from the syllabus point of view we studied one of the important clutch, that is called friction clutch. Again, in that friction clutch we have different types like cone clutch, similarly centrifugal clutch, and disc clutch or plate clutch. So for again our syllabus point of view, we have to give more importance to the single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. These two are nothing but disc clutch, or we call it as plate clutch. So then we study about construction of single plate clutch, then multi plate clutch. In single plate clutch, again we derived one expression for axial force, and we derived expression for torque transmitting capacity of the single plate clutch. Similarly, at the same time, we derived expression for multi-plate clutch by multiplying more number of contacting surfaces, that is n dash. Similarly, we derived expression whatever the torque based on uniform pressure theory as well as based on uniform weight theory. In uniform pressure theory, so that can be used for new clutches, and uniform wear theory, that can be used for designing worn out clutches. So in uniform pressure theory, the pressure remain constant throughout whatever the radius, from inner radius to outer radius, the pressure remains constant, and whatever the in uniform wear theory, the pressure is always variable. The pressure is maximum at inner radius and minimum at the outer radius of the friction disk. So in uniform wear theory, P into R, pressure into radius, is constant. But in case of uniform pressure theory, only P is equal to constant. So that is the main difference between uniform pressure theory and uniform wear theory. And what is the difference of mean diameter in case of uniform pressure and uniform wear theory? You have to use different two expression to find out mean diameter, because while finding operating force or actual force, similarly torque transmitting capacity, you have to substitute mean diameter, so that you have to take care. Now at last we discuss about construction of multi-plate clutches, along with the difference between single plate and multi-plate clutches. So this is all about clutches. So in next class we'll solve problems on single plate clutch and multi-plate clutch. In some of the problem, again we have to design spring, because the working of clutch is again based on helical compression spring. So here also you have to design, you have to find out coil diameter, then spring index you have to find out. So there's one or two problem we have to design spring. The remaining are very easy problem. Here we have to find out only axial force and torque transmitting capacity. So that's about problems with respect to single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. So that we'll discuss in next class. Thank you.